Hello. Today, I'm going to start forging. I'm going to fire up the forge. I'm going to heat up some metal. I'm going to smack it with the hammer. I'm going to see what happens. From all the videos that I've watched of blacksmithing, of forging, most of the advice is, start small, start simple, do something like forge your tongs or forge a leaf or a bottle opener or something simple. But I believe in diving in the deep end. So today, with zero experience in forging, I'm going to go for some Damascus. I have literally never hit a piece of hot metal with a hammer before. So I really am going into this completely blind. I'm doing something stupid. I'm probably going to waste $50 worth of steel. But hey, I'm going to give it a shot anyway. I have plans. If I'm successful in what I'm doing, if I somehow manage to get a billet of Damascus, which I don't think I will. I'm going to be honest. I don't think it's going to work. I don't know what I'm doing. But I've had this thing since I was probably 15. Yeah, probably about then, which means I've had it for 14 years. Goodness. Everything I do, there's a reminder for me of how fast time has gone and how old I am. Goodness, I'm pathetic. So it's a folding knife, has this button for the release at the back. I don't know how it works. If I'm successful in the billet, I'm going to break this down, see how it works. I'm going to copy it, copy the blade. Don't know what else to say. Wish me luck. Here's my steel that I plan to use to make my Damascus. I've got some 15 N20 and some 1084, obviously 40 mil by 35. No. 40 mil by 3.5 by 1200 mil long. Now I thought I ordered 40 by 1.5 by 1200. So this is double the thickness of what I was hoping. The way Damascus works is you layer them up, stack them, have several stacks, which you forge weld down together. I mean, again, if I was successful, come on, how do I do this? One layer of this is going to be almost, as thick as the blade. It's at least 3/4 of the blade's thickness. I think I'm going to end up with a lot more steel, a billet. I say I'm going to end up with. If it works, I'm going to end up with a billet that's significantly larger than the blade, which is a bit of a pain, but at the same time, I don't really mind. If this billet works, and I have excess, I'll be able to use it for another project. So there's my 2 bits of steel. I'm going to, I don't know, I'll guess maybe the blade on here, including what's in here, securing it all together, is about 12 centimeters long, 120 millimeters. So I'll probably cut this to that length, several sections. I should get 10, obviously, on each. I'll stack them up. I'll figure out how. Yeah, I'll figure it out from there, I guess. I thought I had some rebar, which I was going to use as a handle for this, not a handle for the knife, for the billet as I'm forging it, which I don't. The only rebar I've got is far too thick. So I'm going to weld these together, use these as a handle. Here I have some anhydrous borax, which you throw in while you're forge welding. So I guess all I've got to do now is measure out my lengths, fire up the forge, and whilst that's heating up, I'm going to start prepping the steel. I bought myself some fire equipment today. That fire extinguisher, this fire blanket. Neither of those will put out a gas fire, but if I catch something else on fire in my workshop, I'll be able to put that out, and I'll just have to deal with the gas fire as it happens. Bought it today. Here's the instructions. I figure there's no more fitting thing to light the forge with. got my 15N20, 1084 here. Just go red line, black line. Now I know red and black, I know I'm going to be alternating. I don't know, 7. I don't know how I came up with the number 7. Clamp these together. Now I need to weld down the corners to keep the pieces together. Super ugly welds, but in the end that will get cut off. That is hideous. Into the forge. As you can see, paint isn't holding up too well. I didn't remove the mill scale from those little pieces that I made. I don't know if that's a problem or not. Again, I've got no experience doing this whatsoever. So I think I need to add some of this to it now and then reheat it again. Where'd I put the spoon? This thing is bloody hot. I think I need to look for the borax to be bubbling, and that's meant to help remove the scale, I think. Ooh, this thing is hot. Not a very good handle. Yeah. I'm gonna overdo it with the borax since I don't really understand how it works. I think you just need to start with light taps to begin with to set it in motion. I don't really know. We'll see how it goes. Big hammer. That's way better. So I can see the layers are separating. Not ideal. I'm not sure if I'm getting this hot enough. This is a lot harder than I expected it to be. Well, I mean, I knew it was going to be hard. I always knew that. I don't know if my forge is getting hot enough for this to be successful. The steel is hardly moving. I might have managed to get it to join in that last one, but I'm not convinced. I'm just going to leave it in there for a while. The weld on my handle is already starting to break, so I don't know if that's going to last at all. If that breaks, I have to let the thing cool off and re-weld it on. I'll probably double it up like I was originally going to, and then give it a good weld. Here we go again. Looks like the pieces are stuck together. Now I've got to get them to spread a bit. I have no idea how to do that. Oh, damn. Alright, I don't know, is it welded? Certainly not here, it isn't. You can see the different cooling rate. So basically, because I don't want to give up just yet, I'm going to use some barbecue tongs, and they are flimsy. I don't know. Quits. I've got to wait for this to cool so I can re-weld the handles. I honestly don't know if this is welded or not. This point just here is a problem. I don't know if I'm going to be able to recover from that or not. So I've gone and welded 2 of these rods together. Far more sturdy handle, which was my original plan. I wish I'd just stuck with it now. But here's my billet. Well, I'm calling it a billet. It's cooled off a bit now. So I've got to get rid of all this scale now. If you're wondering why it looks rusty, it's because I put it in water. Might have been a mistake. Just in here. Hang on. Get a pointy doodad. That looks like it was unsuccessful. There is another spot, but I think it's down where the clamp is holding it. So I'm going to go ahead with the angle grinder, grind all this off, and I'll see you back in a minute. I'm going to have to admit defeat, I think, after grinding on this for a while. There's lots of cracks. I didn't get rid of that stuff. Is this something I can repair? I honestly don't even know. I mean, I had a couple of spots, like right in the center there, I had a good weld together. Here, that was really well welded together, but then it cracks open again. Which is a bit disappointing, but I can't say I didn't expect it. What I can say is I'm going to try again. I'm going to go with only 4 layers this time. 2 reds, 2 blacks. I'm doing it that way. I'm going to do 4 layers. Then when I get them nice and flat and I stack it, rather than fold, I'm going to cut, restack, which means I'll have red on top of black again, and it'll continue alternating. Forge is up and running again. I have my new handle, which is well and truly welded on this time. Alrighty, I guess into the forge we go. That's a problem. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, but it isn't working. They're not joining together. Maybe I'm just not hitting it hard enough. I'm too weak for this. This is great. I'm sweaty, I'm hot, I love it. I think I might have done it. I have no strength. No. Alright, I think I'm getting somewhere. It's hot, sweaty, hard work. I'm loving every second of it. It's hard. I think the weld is good. Getting it to draw out, I don't know if it's just technique and I need practice, or if it's the tools, because I don't have a round hammer. I'm just using a flat-headed mini fledge. so that might be hindering me from pushing metal around. I don't know. Then I'm throwing my glove off after I've scraped off the scale. The glove keeps my hand protected while I'm scrubbing, but I can't grip the hammer anymore. I don't have the strength, so I'm flicking the glove off, grabbing the hammer and having at it. That's a crack. That whole brick is in half now. They're fire bricks for pizza ovens, not for forges. This may just be the last heat. The weld on my handle is falling off. I don't think it's got much life left. Then I'll let it cool, cut it, fold it, try and forge weld it back together again. Alright, switch the forge off. I'll throw this back in. No, I won't. Just gonna let that cool off now. Come back at it tomorrow again. I actually think that's come out really good. I think. I'm pretty happy with that. The first billet. I really don't know about the first billet. It was too fat. I don't think my forge was able to heat it fully. I know for certain that I wasn't hitting it hard enough. I learned that on the smaller billet. Wasn't coming together, so I heated it up. And I gave it everything I had. It's not much, but I think it came together. I'm glad that I went down to 4 layers. It's going to take a long time to get the layer count up to where I want it to be, if I can be bothered putting all the effort in. Because right now it's just 4 layers, which would look okay as a beginner's knife or beginner's whatever Damascus. There'd be contrast on 4 layers, but that's not very much. Since I shaved that down to less than half of what it began, I figure I can grind on it, get rid of the scale, double it up. It'll still be less than what it originally started as. No, around, just under what it originally began as. Forge weld that back together, hopefully. I don't want to screw it up. I'm pretty happy with the way it's come up so far. I don't think there's any separations, laminations, contaminants, inclusions. So if I can double it up, draw it out the same again, that's 8 layers. And basically you just keep repeating the process, but we're gonna have to just wait and see at what point I get exhausted and just can't handle it anymore. What a fantastic day though. Love getting dirty, working hard and breaking a sweat. Does a lot for in here. Something to focus on, something to strive towards, achieve. It's just a great way to relax, is to work hard, not thinking about the hard work that you've been doing all morning for a job. Go and wail on some metal. And I think anyone should do something similar, whether it's arts and crafts or woodwork or, I don't know, tinkering on a car or whatever. Everyone should have something that inspires. Everyone should have something that gives them a sense of joy, pride even, something to achieve. It goes a long way to keeping you sane. I've got to work tonight, back up again at 1 o'clock in the morning. But then I've got 4 nights off. So within the next 4 days, I'm hoping to have this Damascus billet well and truly sorted. One thing I've learned, I'm not very good at using a hammer. Lots of dents and marks and whatnot. Basically, I'm just going to get back into it. Grind off the scale, heat it back up, try forging it again. From watching the footage that I had of my first attempt with the big fat billet, the one where nothing joined together, looking back at the footage, it was nowhere near hot enough. Maybe I try to heat this up again to proper welding temperatures and try and stick it together. I don't know if that'll work or not, but we'll find out. Before I do that, grind off the scale, cut it in half, stack them, try to forge them together. Okay, so what I've done, folded them into the 2 layers. So cut it into 2 equal lengths, put one on top of the other, welded my handle back on. I thought about putting another piece of 15N20 or 1084 or whatever between, but I thought I better not. Might end up wasting more material than I want to, since I don't even know if this is going to work or not. So I guess it's now time to go ahead and fire up the forge. I'm struggling to get anything longer than what I've marked out here, which is the same as the original size. It's probably my skill more than anything, but I think after this heat I'm probably going to stop, even though it's not very long. I'll stop, do the same, grind off the scale, fold it again and re-weld it, and then I'll have, so now I've got 8 layers, I'll have 16 then, just see what happens after that. So now I'll just let this cool. I'm fairly satisfied that that's going to come together pretty good. I think what I'm going to do, give this another cut down the middle, fold them over, draw them out to about this length again. That'll give me 16 layers. What I'm thinking about doing is cutting these down. I'm throwing them in with my layers that I cut myself, just to get that layer count up. It'll give me some really thin ones. Then where these come in, they'll be a bit thicker layers. So I think that's what I might do. I've got my 2 itty bitty billet pieces that I've cut in half. Each of these is 8 layers. Then I've got 1084, 15 and 20 sitting here. And what I'm going to do is sandwich these two between my 8 layers. So now what I've got is 8 layers, plus 8 layers is 16, 17, 18 layers here. I'm sandwiching them like this because I figure it's going to take a lot longer for the heat to get through the top and bottom layer here to get to these. If I had it the other way around, I feel like these thin ones would get overheated before it got through the thicker stuff here. It's a workout, that's for sure. Worried about this one. There was a large gap in between the 2 pieces. It's gonna see what happens, I suppose. It'd be a shame if I ruined it now. Well, I guess that's it. Whatever that, I don't know what caused that. I have no idea. Inexperience. It's disappointing. Can't really say I'm surprised since I have no idea what I'm doing. I guess we just leave it at 18 layers. Ow, this is hot. That's disappointing to say the least. My gut feeling, and I could be wrong, maybe I tried to draw out such thick pieces too thin. I could have had this layer count so much faster if I had thinner material. At least double for half the work. So that blows. That really blows. So that's going to bring us to the end of today. I have to grind that thing down, get rid of the scale on it. Maybe I'll grind on it, give it a little etch and just see what happened with it. If it was even working at all, whether it's complete delamination every layer. That's a catastrophic failure if ever I've seen one. But again, I can't diagnose what caused that. I have no idea. Whether it's just me not being gentle enough, putting too much hope in thinning out such a thick piece of material. I think this blade is now out of the question. I can make a little tiny knife maybe. It always sucks when you put so much effort into something. For something like that to happen is fairly disappointing. That's 4 or 5 days worth of hammering. For me, a professional would do that in an hour. But for me, that was a lot of work. Hopefully I can salvage it. But it's all part of the learning curve. I didn't expect it. I think I called it right at the start that this wasn't going to work because I don't know what I'm doing. Disappointed, sure, but did I expect that to happen? Absolutely. Not like that. I knew in one way or another it just wasn't going to work. Would have been nice for my first attempt at blacksmithing to be Damascus and then for it to work. That would have been pretty cool, but I don't think it's meant to be. But that's all right. That's all right. There's no shame in failure. This is something I'm going to do. I'm going to pursue this. Believe me, this is not the end. I didn't make the forge and the anvil and all of that just to give up because one little thing didn't work for me. I'll be back probably tomorrow. I still have plenty of these. I'll give it another shot, and maybe next time I'll stick to 8 layers or something, and then I'll just draw it straight out. Leave it at 8, maybe 10, which would be pretty cool. Oh well, to be continued. Something that's a bit disappointing, the Damascus worked. I broke it, and it's actually worked reasonably well anyway, especially for a first attempt. I don't know if you can see it or not. I haven't polished the metal. It's a really rough sanding, which means the results aren't as good as they would be if I spent hours sanding it. I know right at the tip there, just here, you can see different layers, which I think means it would have worked had I been able to spend better time on it. There on that edge there, you can sort of see the layers. And then on this edge, I don't know if they're showing up too well, but you can see the layers in there. I've got fat layers at the top and the bottom with really skinny ones in the middle. I think this is because when I folded them a couple of times, I ended up with the nickel based on nickel. So we've got a couple of fat layers of nickel. Again, this would be showing up a lot nicer if when I etched it for longer. It was only in there for 20 minutes or so. And if I was able to sand it, you know, better than just using the angle grinder and then buffing it a tiny bit with some 400 grit. Which doesn't really do anything unless you've first done, you know, lesser grits to get it nice and smooth. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Again, I wasn't expecting complete success, but it worked. I mean, in principle, whilst it did shear off, that is a successful bit of pattern welded steel. It's just a shame that I'm not even going to be able to salvage enough of it for this blade, because, you know, from probably this part onwards is usable. From here back we'll have inclusions from this welded area that I've done several times, and it is what it is. I think I'll order some thin stuff to come in. That way I can cut it to this length and then, you know, double or even triple the number of layers that I can have. That way all I'd need to do is weld them together. Oh no. No, this piece is this piece is well and truly done. What I've just noticed, that crack right there goes all the way through, all the way to the other side, and then it sort of splits off down here and down here, which is no bueno. That's a problem. This is roached. I'll still grind it out, see what I get. But that piece is well and truly done. So for now, I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to have a beer. I'm going to relax. And I'll have another go tomorrow.